What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Fightful Wrestling Podcast. It's the official name of the show now, the Fightful Wrestling Podcast. In case you guys missed it, we had a big announcement on the main page. Let me just pull that up and tell you all about it. Not only will I pull it up, I'll do screen share. That way you guys can read it as well. Okay, because I'm a gentleman. Let's see here. Major Fightful.com announcement. Hey guys. Big news coming out of Fightful.com today. We will be starting FightfulWrestling.com, which is all wrestling all the time, and FightfulMMA.com, which is MMA and boxing coverage only. We will still be bringing you the traditional Fightful.com, which combines both of them if you like those. But as we've learned, some of you just like one or the other, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we're going to still bring you all the great coverage, but even more. Our dude Showdown Joe is going to be doing more podcasts than ever before. You're going to get the Fightful.com MMA podcast daily. You're going to get the Fightful Wrestling podcast daily, and that's not it. Our boy Showdown Joe and Jimmy Van locked down some people. Sean Pearson, UFC fighter who won his last 3 fights. We're kind of taking a hiatus. And the 12-1 Elias Theodorou, who is the Ultimate Fighter Nations winner in 2014. So we're not bringing you washed up scrubs here at Fightful.com. Oh, no. We got Matt Riddle, who left the UFC on a 4-fight win streak. Sean Pearson, who left the UFC on a 3-fight winning streak. And the 12-1, really 15-1, 16-1 if you count his Ultimate Fighter record. Elias Theodorou. Also, Joe did a show with James Lynch, a great friend of Fightful.com tonight. Go check that out. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff. But yeah, and I will be still doing shows with Joe with regularity. I think we have one this Thursday. And of course, we'll be doing all the post shows as well. Bring it on the verified accounts, Alex. And you ain't one of them.
No, I'm not.
They don't verify people with fingerless gloves.
They don't. No, they don't. But I'll give it another shot and see if they'll give the old blue check mark, since they apparently are passing that out a little bit more now. But
hey, what's that supposed to mean?
Oh no, it's just what more.
Is that a shot?
It's not a shot at you.
Shooting?
I'm not shooting. I don't shoot.
Yeah.
It's all
Somebody
work.
says, where's Matt Riddle now? Matt Riddle is probably at home. I don't know. We're doing a Thursday show, and you better believe I'm going to bring up 29 holes for 29 souls, because he will go banana over that. Guys, if you all haven't been following me along on Twitter, I use that hashtag #RetroRumble hashtag, and I'll be compiling those in a series of 3 or 4 different things as I've been going back and watching all the Royal Rumbles. Something you all have to look forward to, guys. Our unverified co-host, Alex Pawlowski, will be hosting the post-NXT and post-Royal Rumble shows, as I will be in San Antonio for those. If you're there, come by, say hi to me. I may be wearing some glasses because I can't see in general. But we got Jeff Hawkins for him on Saturday. Looks like Anna Bauer on Sunday. So, hey, if you all haven't been checking out Anna Bauer's stuff, go do it. Most Ridiculous, one of my favorite things on the site. Leave us a thumbs up here. I'm doing anything I can to avoid talking about Monday Night Raw, Alex.
What else should we talk about instead? Let's think of all the things.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, we could talk about that. We could. Let's not, though.
Let's not.
Yeah. There's other things.
I will say this. For Meryl Streep saying that the UFC or that MMA has no foreigners, we sure as hell were able to find like half a dozen of them to do podcasts for us. So,
yeah.
Hot diggity damn. ECW says, let's get into it, Sean. Do we have to? People say, are you going to be mean if I say hi to you, Sean? No, absolutely not. I'll be around there with friends. I know there's going to be a lot of my friends that are in town. Issa, WWE blogger diva on Twitter. Corey Santiago, Nick Gator, Steve from the late shift. I got lots of people that are going to be out there. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody, hanging out with you guys. Okay. By the way, guys, we have live coverage of the UK tournament this Saturday and Sunday, and UFC Fight Night coverage. Come over there. I want you all to come hang out on our Discuss boards. There's really no reason that you shouldn't have been. There's really no reason you shouldn't have been. What is that ambient noise I hear over there?
I'm not sure.
How dare you? Are you running an air purifier during the show?
I might have been possibly running a space heater because it is like 4 degrees outside and I am in my basement. So I'll shut that shit down right now.
You freeze. You're wearing fingerless gloves. You'll be all right.
Right, exactly. But my fingers are still cold. Everything else is nice.
Somebody says talk about Rousey possibly being suspended. That's a hoax. It's fake. Okay. Here we go. There was a show tonight. It was called Monday Night Raw. It was not very good, Alex.
It was not very good. I guess they figured everybody would be watching Alabama Clemson. I haven't been paying attention. I don't even know if the game's close or not. But because I had to cover this thing, with both eyes peeled, unfortunately. So, I guess that's what they thought. So they were counter programming with Taker came out during halftime, and that was basically all.
Yeah, they dug about 2.3 million holes for the 2.3 million souls that watch this show, to say the least. Yep. We kicked it off with Braun Strowman being on the hunt for Roman Reigns and Goldberg. I like this. He should have been on the hunt for Roman Reigns and Goldberg. He was out for vengeance. Strowman attacks Reigns before his United States title match, which was much to the chagrin of Jericho. They joined in on the Jolly Beatdown. Rollins made the save with a nice Van Daminator. I haven't seen that in a while. And Rollins pulled it off pretty well, pretty safe. Strowman was able to make it look pretty natural. Not too bad. Rollins Strowman booked next. What did you think about this opening situation?
The whole thing about the very first segment where Stephanie was giving Mick Foley his performance review in front of a camera for some reason. Yeah. And she said, your performance review depends on whether or not the Undertaker shows up. I know that a week ago we said he was going to be here and we were promoting it for a week, but now there's rumors going around that he might show up or might not show up. And I understand, Mick Foley, that you control the Undertaker and can summon him at your will. So I'm going to hold you to that, says Stephanie. Then Seth Rollins shows up just to shoot the shit, apparently. And then Braun comes in, and there's this great visual of Braun talking to Stephanie and Mick with Seth right here on him, which was a good little thing. And then Seth throws a punch at Strowman and gets that started. And I honestly loved the beginning of the U.S. title match because I thought, since there's no disqualifications, that Owens and Jericho were just going to let Braun Strowman destroy Roman Reigns. And then when Braun was done with that, they were going to sit on him and take the pin. I thought that and give him the pin. I thought that was going to be great. But no, Steph comes out and she's in charge of everything tonight. And she's very pissy. I don't know what flew up her nose, but she was not in a good mood. And so it was just a lot of Stephanie just being angry at things today. And that's my least favorite part of Raw when that happens. And that was a lot of tonight. So I liked the Van Daminator.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's a cool thing.
That was neat. Somebody says, are you all going to do a live podcast from the Rumble? No. I'm not equipped for that yet. But if I end up going to WrestleMania or something, here's the thing. If I end up going to WrestleMania, Jimmy Van will be there. So I'm sure he'll have the means to do so. I'm sure Matt will be wrestling in town that weekend. Maybe we can get him around in the future for stuff like that. Yes, I will have not a live podcast, but an on-site podcast per se. I mean, hey, we're the fastest growing wrestling, MMA, boxing podcast network around. I don't have the numbers to back that up. I'm just assuming. Share the link, guys, on Twitter. Facebook. Also, register for free at Fightful.com. Get early access to the Matt Riddle show on Thursdays. It's a lot of fun. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. Also, that Shane Helms podcast on Fridays. We talked Royal Rumble. We talked last week about gimmick matches. That was a whole lot of fun. Go check it out. We did a supersized edition for you guys. He also commented on the TNA situation. When are we getting tees made up? I sent out a blueprint, a request for our tech team to make a design today. So hopefully I'll have that submitted by the end of the week. Hopefully. Back to this Raw show. Oh, gosh. Okay. Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman. Strowman is getting better every single week, Alex.
He is.
In every facet, from selling to execution to working a match. And they're putting him in there with the right people, I think.
Yeah. Well, I like the progression of this. Seth Rollins presents himself as a bigger man than Sami Zayn, even if he isn't. He was the champion of the whole company for a long time, about a year and a half ago. So he should be able to inflict a little more damage on Strowman than Zayn, but not be able to just have his way with him. So I like that there's a progression there. I thought that Rollins was able to work a lot of the babyface stuff that made him so popular when he was part of the Shield, when they were doing their amazing stuff, and he was able to do things like climbing up on top of the ring post and doing some big thing, even though he missed it. He feels like he's able to do some more flippy shit and be more of a fun babyface type of guy against a man the size of Braun. So I liked a lot of that. I think that there's something to be done to help Braun react to things that's not just like that's
I'll tell you what, man. I've been watching all those Royal Rumbles back, and it ain't that much worse than some of the selling I see from back in the day.
I know. That's the thing, is that it reminds me a lot of that old school selling. I would love, because I think that there's a lot of potential to have Braun here in the next couple of years really progress to become something very special. I think that one of the things that he can do is to figure out a way of selling that's a little different than that. But I really love what they're doing with him. I liked that he's really just angry at all the biggest names in the business right now, and it's cool that then elevates him and allows him to be like close to the semi-main event, which is where he belongs right now. He's certainly one of the most over guys on the roster, and it shows. Like, people are really into him, and they're booking him really well for a guy his size.
He is Vince McMahon's wet dream, and they're putting him against the right kind of people. He had a really cool high-angle spine buster that I liked.
Yeah.
That was like the kind that Goldberg used to do way back in the day, where you'd catch him with the one leg, bring him up, throw him down.
Yeah.
Rollins flew off the top rope into the barricade. Both guys got counted out. Oh, also, when I was doing the pitches, guys, forgot to mention, follow at Fightful MMA and at Fightful Wrestle. Fightful Wrestling, too long, wouldn't fit. Trash. But that's where our live tweets will be, our giveaways, our contests, a lot of that stuff. At Fightful Wrestle, at Fightful MMA. Go do it now. We're still Twitter eggs on there. We had the Women Diva ladies backstage. We'll group these two segments into one, these backstage parts. Bayley and Sasha are backstage, and this is a not good promo where they're like, hey, I'm in the same position you were a couple months ago. Hey, I've got your back if Dana Brooke is going to interfere. Well, Charlotte shows up and forces in a Golden Globes reference because get this, guys, it happened last night. It happened last night, so they talked about it.
Right.
They brought it up.
And I don't know
they did it.
I don't know if you know this, Sean, but Emma Stone can't handle a candle to Sasha Banks' performance. Handle a candle, I believe, is not the actual phrase that is not the turn of phrase that she was trying to use. Is handle a candle.
How do you know?
I don't. Maybe that was scripted, but I think it's hold again.
Maybe she's insinuating that, like, I don't know. You never know.
You never know.
Either way, as I like to say, either way, this was trash. This was all trash. Nia Jax showed up and attacked Bayley and Sasha with Charlotte. And then she threatened Charlotte too. I thought that was good.
That's good.
I'm all for that, teasing it, whether they have it planned or not, because that's what Nia Jax should do.
Yeah.
Good direction there.
Yes. There are a few people on this roster on both shows, Raw and SmackDown, Corbin, Strowman, Jax, who should not give a damn about heel face alignments. And they don't, and it's great. That part I really liked.
That's always my thing. Like, jerks get along, but the good people don't ever have anybody to help them. Alex247 says, what's with all those weird crowd shots? That's a new directive. Well, not new directive. It's been going on for a few weeks, rather.
Yeah.
Somebody says, am I the only one who wishes Corey Graves killed Byron Saxton with that voodoo doll? Jesus. Guys, come on now. So, Jack Gallaher defeated Drew Gulak. Sorry about the dead air, guys. I lost my train of thought for a second. Gallaher got a nice reaction, but I'll say this. Austin Aries was rightfully busting balls about the lack of knee pads in this match. A real lack of knee pads in this match.
Yeah.
Whether you need them or not, wear the knee pads.
There was better
aesthetics.
Nary a knee pad to be found in this match.
You never used to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like 5 or 6 guys on the roster who don't wear them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I do know that I love Jack Gallaher. I do know that I love the fact that Jack Gallaher is interviewed after the ring and talks about having a parlay with Arya Daivari as though he's in Pirates of the Caribbean and they're going to parlay. Yeah. And if Daivari doesn't agree to the terms of the parlay, then Jack is going to be forced to engage him in fisticuffs. I love this guy. He's everything that the vaudevillains should have been and we're not allowed to be. But I think it's because Jack Gallaher is just so much better at doing this gimmick than those two guys are. He's so good at this thing, and he's making 205 Live into appointment viewing. Like, oh crap, they're going to do that. I got to make sure and tune in. You know, like they're doing a really good job of promoting that.
I still won't tune in. Austin Aries has been out for about 11 weeks. I'm going to ask around and find out how far along he is with his recovery, but I'd say it's not going to be that far off. But
yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with him because they've already created a top heel in the division in Neville. Like that's what I thought they were going to do with Austin Aries when he came back, was slot him into that position. But they've already created a perfect top heel in Neville.
There ain't nothing wrong with a couple of top heels on a show.
Right. I'm interested to see how they react to each other and whether or not they can, be in cahoots or something. But I really loved Austin Aries in NXT, and I'm interested to see what he does with some of these cruiserweights.
Since the WWE groups in all their cruiserweight stuff together, that's what we'll do too.
Sure.
Neville defeated Lince Dorado. This was a quick match. He won with the Rings of Saturn. I thought that was cool. Also, he attacked Lince and applied it again. So they established this move one night.
Yep.
I know he's done it before, but they really got it over and established it. Like, this is his move. I like it because the red arrow is a move where people are going to pop. It's a babyface move. Using the Rings of Saturn isn't. Rich Swann makes the save. That's cool. A thought that I had is they need a cruiserweight Taz. They need a guy like that who just suplexes the piss out of people. I know a guy who does our Thursday podcast who's about 205 pounds who can do that. But
yeah, well,
as somebody said, he'd be wasted as a cruiserweight.
Yeah, and until he gets there, if he were to do it, Neville is certainly strong enough to throw guys all over the ring. I would love to see him as like mini Brock Lesnar, because it would be frustrating. Everyone knows what a fantastic high flyer he is. And if he refuses to do that stuff and just brutalizes guys with suplexes, he's incredibly strong. Just the idea of him throwing around dudes who are 20 pounds lighter than him, that would be great.
I mean, having a cruiserweight AJ Styles, even though he's a cruiserweight himself, essentially, they like apparently have no limits to AJ Styles. Like, they're not like, don't jump, don't pick people up, don't do this move, don't do that move. They took the chains off, and he's great. Alicia Fox, Dumdar, she slaps him, then later she finds him and kisses him, and he reacts like, whoa. Do you think this is like, have you ever seen the movie, what is it? Is it the movie Sex Drive? Have you seen that movie?
I have not seen the movie Sex Drive, no.
There are these two teenagers that are driving around a car, and they always see hot girls. They're like, what's up, what's up? Want to see our dicks? Then when a girl's like, yeah, they're like, oh, bye. So
this
is them.
That's Noam Dar's gimmick. Is this he's working a sex drive gimmick.
He's working a sex drive gimmick. He's the bully that kept calling people out and got punched in the nose.
And
now he's like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? I got to act on this now.
This whole deal is just bad. I don't know. I wish we had a female voice on this podcast to talk about this particular one, because like
oh, come on.
I mean, no, seriously.
There are creeps in the world, Alex.
There certainly are, but there's a way of handling that's not. Alicia Fox says, oh, so you've been a creep to me, so I'm going to kiss you as revenge. Is just not a thing that's I don't know.
What are you talking about? That happens all the time in the real world.
You're right. It's just bad. This whole thing is bad. Noam Dar is doing a great job with it, but I don't think it should be a storyline that I think it demeans everybody who's involved in it personally. But I do still love the way that Noam Dar says, Alicia Fox.
Apparently, that's the entire basis of this storyline, is that Vince McMahon thinks it's funny.
Yeah. He thinks it's hilarious the way that Noam Dar says Alicia Fox. So he says, let's just have him do it over and over again. I think it's hilarious.
Well, we do have a female voice because Anna Bauer, the host of Most Ridiculous, which the new episode drops tomorrow, you guys. So check that out. She says it was trash. They made his behavior seem okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I will say there are creeps like that. There are not people. Well, I'm sure there's somebody in the world that acted like Alicia Fox did.
Right.
That ain't typical. Now, to their credit, Alicia Fox has never been considered typical on this programming.
And we have yet to see whether or not Noam gets a full comeuppance at the hands of Cedric Alexander. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't actually seen that. And even then, a lot of women will say, I don't want Cedric Alexander to give him his comeuppance, because
I don't want to hear about Dar or him coming uppance or anything.
Right. That Alicia should be the one to really do it in a certain way of getting him out of there. But whatever, it's time to move on. Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, not exactly a hero's welcome for him. He didn't get a big reaction when he first came out. His new movie, Alex, looks shitty. I sent you the trailer a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I've seen the trailer. It's terrible. It's terrible. Listen, to each their own. Everybody believe what you want to believe, but the faith-based genre of movies is not for me. It was not intended for me. So it's one of those things that I'm not sure if I'll get around to reviewing it for outside of the ring reviews. My semi-regular.
Got it.
I mean, I'll just review Shawn Michaels' performance as the mechanic with a heart of gold.
Have you ever seen? I'm not trying to bash anybody's religion or anything like this. Have you ever seen the trailer for that God's Not Dead movie?
Yes.
Ooh, Dean Cain.
Yeah,
he needs to be a pro wrestling manager. Because he's there, he's cutting the promo on the Christian lady. He's like looking at her. You believed in God your entire life, and look where it got you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Dead. I was like, damn, man.
This is just bad.
It's like legit.
Anyway, in the vein of Shawn not getting the biggest pop, maybe it's because the crowd was subjected to him dabbing with TJP before he came out, and they were kind of just shook by that, like not being able to get over it. This whole segment with HBK was just awful. Somehow, it was almost saved by Rusev coming out, and I thought it was going to be ruined by that. Like, oh God, they're sacrificing Rusev to HBK. Then they started in with the sweet chin music chants. Like, they couldn't wait 2 minutes to get to watch Rusev take a sweet chin music. But Rusev comes out there with Jinder and Lana and says, that stupid movie that you have coming out, it's so stupid. You should put my wife in the movie. and it's just every time a terrible joke doesn't land, there would be a pause, and then Rusev goes, anyways, put my wife in movie.
I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious.
Rusev tried so hard to save this with his comedic skills. At one point, he called himself the Bulgarian George Clooney. But it can't be saved because then
George Clooney's from my hometown, actually.
Cass and Enzo come out. Enzo's working the wheelchair thing. Apparently, he's got a legit knee injury that he's just staying off of, not competing with. But then he gets into the ring. They do all their thing. They're talking about all the movies that Jinder Mahal and Rusev remind them of. It's just really bad and lazy and bad.
Boy, had the Jets cooled on these two.
It's not good. But then of course, Rusev calls them stupid Americans, and because that's all he can do, and that's all he's allowed to do. And Big Cass says, okay, let's settle this right here, right now in a one-on-one match. And because Rusev is a foreigner and all foreigners are cowards, he says, sure, Jinder will be in the match. And so then we get a Jinder Mahal and Big Cass match that nobody wanted.
Yeah, Cass would go on to hinder Jinder. Michael super kicked Rusev. He was the designated super kicky of the night. I don't know what we're supposed to say about this. Cass won. It was an elbow drop. It was pretty quick. Okay. I got a lot of comments about Jinder Mahal's physique. He's in great shape. I don't think that means he's on steroids, guys, even though everybody seems to assume that when somebody's on TV naked for a living that they're on steroids if they're in good shape. Our social media guy, Kyler James, will also be at the Rumble. Go say hi to him as well, guys. Man, this was a stinker. Stephanie has had enough. I meant to group this in earlier. She goes off on Bayley and Sasha Banks, and she's like, I'm the only boss on this show. How dare you have a nickname? What are you thinking? Man, like, what if, and that's just so weird. The positive in this, at least maybe eventually Sasha and or Bayley can beat her up, but I don't know. Gallows versus Sheamus. Anderson was on commentary. Cesaro was on commentary.
That was that's a 5-man commentary desk. They showed it from in front, and it looked like
they're trying to top SmackDown. Okay,
it looked like the damn Last Supper painting. There were so many guys sitting on one side of a long table. Yeah, it was fine. The match was fine. It was what I thought was going to happen last week. They had a singles match, Anderson versus Cesaro, and this week it's the Gallows versus Sheamus. Next week it'll be Gallows versus Cesaro, and the next week after that it'll be Anderson versus Sheamus, because they have to hold off everything until we're biding our time until the Royal Rumble match. Yeah, it is what it is. There was a lot of Anderson talking about how awesome he is in Japan, which I think was interesting with Wrestle Kingdom getting so much of the press this past week. It was just Anderson talking about Japan a lot.
I thought that was funny. I thought it was very funny.
That was good.
He just kept bringing that up. like, this is another one of those, what am I supposed to say about this? Thank God Paul Heyman and JBL aren't on this show, because this is why we have so many proponents of a 2-hour Raw, because what they did here went back. I guess Project Make People Give a Shit About Gallows and Anderson right out the window. Gone. It's gone. Yeah. Anderson and Gallows are two real entertaining guys. Mm-hmm. They could have done a lot more in a 90-second backstage segment without cheapening their eventual match. A lot of people. That's how you would see Edge and Christian at a pub or something. Like, they would intentionally be avoiding wrestling people because they're heels. That's what they do.
Yeah, my thing has been JBL explained perfectly why they were never going to go back to the 2-hour Raw. They make too much money from the third hour.
Sure.
But my thing is, you can utilize that third hour so much better than you are using it. You know, there's just a lot of stuff that is so much filler. You have matches that could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes longer with a lot of great spots within them. Make them switch up the pairings of the matches a little bit.
I wouldn't be opposed to them doing like almost a live Talking Smack format where they have like a Renee Young at a booth, and maybe after a match or after a commercial break, one of those people is up there talking to him. Bailey's up there talking to him, and it's not scripted.
Yeah. That's the main thing, is it feels so canned.
Yeah. Stephanie McMahon gave Mick Foley a deadline to bring The Undertaker in by 10 p.m. Eastern. She should have just said halftime. When it didn't look like he'd show up, she went off on Foley for being inept, and Foley sold the hell out. He thought he was losing his job.
Yep. Yeah, this was
he plays sad old man so well. But The Undertaker's dong cheered him up.
Yeah, cheers up everybody. She originally gave him an hour. Like, you better make sure that Undertaker's in the middle of that ring in an hour. And I was thinking to myself, God, his entrance takes so long. He better start walking in about 40 minutes. Otherwise, he won't make it to the middle of the ring by then. This was really, really bad. It felt like somebody was telling me that Clemson wasn't running the clock out before halftime, so they had to stall. And that might have been why it was just like Stephanie coming out and rehashing all of these things that like Foley did wrong and since like October. Like, you did this wrong, and 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 I'm gonna have to dong. You know, like, it was just this. They just waited as long as they possibly could. Yeah. So good for Taker coming out. That was fun.
Taker came out. He looked like a guy who was 3.5 months off of surgery. Ramblin' Ryan Rhodes says, third hour doesn't mean you need filler. Run your shows like matches are run and make every single minute you have matter. That's hard to do with 3 hours. The level of talent that you have, the level you've allowed people to get over, it's hard. It's very hard. Undertaker comes out, like I said, he looks like he's 3.5 months off of surgery, because he is, but he enters the Royal Rumble match.
Yep.
You think he's winning it?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I honestly, this is one of those Royal Rumble things because of the brand split and the 2 titles. There are so many possibilities. Depending, I mean, we're all assuming that Reigns comes out of the Rumble with the title, Universal title, which means there's a lot of different things they could do. They could pull the trigger and say, we're going to put Goldberg against Reigns in Mania. They're going to blow off the Lesnar feud like they blew it off between Lesnar and the Wyatts last year. They could blow it off right there and say, that's our money match. It's Goldberg versus Reigns. I don't think that's
the Mania card is not set in any way.
At all. And then
that's the question. I talked to a couple of people in WWE, and every week I ask the same thing. Any Mania plans? Any Mania plans? Card isn't finished. Nowhere near it.
Yeah.
A vague direction.
So you got Cena versus Styles. Depending on who takes that, that's an interesting thing. If you got a SmackDown person winning it, you know, I mean, is Taker a SmackDown superstar? Like, he comes out and the first thing he says is, I'm back. Well, you said that when you were on SmackDown back in November. So are you back here? Or are you back there? Are you the only superstar who's on both shows? Is that possible? Because, I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's Undertaker. I would like to see him win it if he does, and then like make a big show of which one he's going to go after. Is he going to go after the one on SmackDown or the one on Raw? That would be an interesting little question that they could pull through. I would love to see him enter at 30. Because Lord knows he's not going to be in there for an hour. I would love to see him come in as the last guy, with maybe 5 or 6 dudes in the ring and have, him be part of that, and maybe he could win at that point.
He lets Stephanie know that he goes where he wants. I think Undertaker has a good shot. I mean, there are rumors that he'll face, there's speculation that he'll face Cena or Styles. That's a big one. That is a big one. That's a hell of an announcement. We have King of Strong Style on the YouTube chat saying, Sean, you never complain about 6-hour UFC shows. Yeah, I do all the damn time. I bitch about UFC shows all the time being way too long. I've said it numerous times that MLB, NBA, NFL all are finding ways to make their shows shorter while WWE and UFC are making theirs longer. Also, no, UFC shows are not mostly more boring than Raw in any way, shape, or form. The pacing is a lot worse sometimes if they're on a Brazil show and they're trying to stretch it out. But no, by an hour and a half into Raw, generally, it's tough for me. It's real tough for me. Now, there were about 3 weeks where I thought it was really good and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
they're
like
just
this Bayley, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Nia Jax. What do we say about this match?
Well, here's what we do. This is where they asked. Well, Sasha demanded it, and Bayley asked for a match next week, so Sasha could heal, and then Stephanie McMahon healed, and she said, "No, you're going to have that match tonight. I'm going to put an injured superstar in the ring to take more injuries because that's what's best for business." And so, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you're doing. You're basically expanding this whole thing. There's rumors of they're going to hotshot the Bayley thing and make it like 4 months of a build of Stephanie and her, like that was with the Authority and Daniel Bryan ahead of his title match at Mania. But that was like a year of build, and this is going to be 4 months. So they're going to try. They're really pushing that hard. I mean, these are the only 4 women on Raw. When was the last time we saw Dana Brooke? Like 3-4 weeks ago?
Speaking of, we got our 15th straight week of Emelina vignettes. That is not hyperbole. That is not a joke. That is not me exaggerating. It's been 15 weeks.
It's going to be 16 next week, which is 4 months. The only time she's going to come back is after the Rumble. You know what I mean? That's it. Like, they're not going to have her come out like next week, where there's 2 more weeks. Like, they're not like doing that. They're holding her off. My hope, though, is if you saw my piece earlier over the weekend, that she was my article.
Okay.
My article over the weekend about how Emma was posting stuff where she was feeding tigers and bears at this endangered species thing. And I was like, well, maybe she's not an Instagram model. Maybe she's going to come back as like Emelina, Queen of the Jungle Beasts. And I'm like, now that's something I could get behind. But this is not good. They need more. Like, they actually asked Bayley in something. They asked her, "Would you like to see a women's Royal Rumble?" And she says, "We don't have enough women." Like, it's just a straight up thing. We have like 10 women on the entire roster on both shows. That's really not a Royal Rumble.
I don't know. I think they have more than 10. Which, I mean, you could probably do a 10-woman Royal Rumble.
Well, you could definitely they have a dozen, maybe 15 at the most.
You got Nia, Emma, Dana, Charlotte, Bayley, Fox, Banks. That's 7 off the top of my head. Then Alexa, Carmella, Becky, Eva when she comes back, Mickey, Naomi, Natalia, Bella. That's 15 girls.
15. Okay, 15.
Do that.
Yes, and because the women's division apparently still is half as important as the males, you have 15 to 30. There you go.
Oh, geez. And Maurice is a surprise entrant?
Okay.
For real.
Fine, sure.
She's fantastic.
She's great.
I feel bad. I need to switch you and Jeff around sometimes so you can talk about the good show.
That would be wonderful. Talk
I
about
mean, sometimes it happens.
Yeah,
Sometimes you all have to switch, but
so many good things to say about the last 2 weeks of SmackDown, and I'm over here on Raw going, oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, check out that Shane Helms show from Friday. It's up on Fightful.com. For non-members now, get early access to those shows by registering for free at Fightful.com. You also get access to our forums, contests, giveaways, Matt Riddle show early on Thursdays. Otherwise, y'all got to wait until the next week for those. Tough titty, they say. Kofi Kingston defeated Titus O'Neil, but before New Day was out and they were clowning Titus. He wants to be a part of the New Day. They showed his gaffes from NXT in 2010, his bad promos, his keg carrying, and they give him a shot at redemption. They have him carry a keg around the ring. He does so, but then he Deshaun Jacksons it and drops it right before the finish line. I've seen worse ways for them to fill time.
Yeah.
But this wasn't good.
No. This is the perfect personification of my problem with the way they write baby faces in WWE. Like, that's who the New Day still is.
Bullies.
Yeah, they're bullies. Like they bring, like, Titus, all Titus wants to do is be included in their group. He wants to be one of their friends, you know? And
he's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right. They won't let him play in their New Day games. Okay. And this is the thing, is then they say, okay, fine. We're going to we have an offer for you, Titus O'Neil. Come down to the ring. And the offer is, we're going to show you your most humiliating part of your entire life, where you botched a promo and fell down trying to carry a keg around the ring. And we're going to set this whole thing up. Now, they didn't cause Titus to drop the keg before he went across the thing. That's fine. But then they laughed at him when he failed. They laughed at it. They pointed and laughed. And what do we tell kids? We teach them to stick up for yourself. Stand up to the bully. And Titus O'Neil does that. And yet he's still the heel. He's still the heel. And it's just, and when he loses the match inevitably to Kofi Kingston, they all laugh at him and they dance around, shaking their booties, drinking their booty juice. Please, God, don't ever actually make that a thing like you made Bootios a thing. Don't.
They're doing it. I will say that I like the entrance where they pour Bootios all over the people's face. That's
fine. But I'm kind of done with the whole heels, baby faces as bullies thing, and we think that that's a good thing. We had a whole anti-bullying campaign a couple years ago called "Be a Star," and no, it's the pro-bullying now, because those are the good guys. Your good guys are bullies.
Gold Bliss asks, seriously, who do you logically predict on facing Undertaker at WrestleMania? I think Cena versus Undertaker is a big marquee matchup that they could do. Yeah. That's what I think. That's just me predicting.
Right. And the thing about it is, I don't think that the title needs to be involved in that match.
I don't either.
But if you did involve it in that match, you know, then it's a thing of like, does Taker win a title at Mania? Does Cena win his 16th? It becomes a major deal even more, but I don't think you need it. So, you know, we'll see. I was honestly surprised, not surprised, but I had hoped that Taker was going to come out in the site of WrestleMania 2018 and say that WrestleMania will be my last WrestleMania, and I wanted this last year to be a real year. Maybe they would put the title on him, have him carry it for a year, and then lose it at WrestleMania to go out in 2018 in New Orleans. I thought that might have been a thing, but oh well.
Next up, well, Kofi Kingston defeated Titus O'Neil. It was quick. Kofi won. That's it. U.S. title match. I thought this was a really well-worked match. The use of the shark cage at the beginning was pretty good. There was a cool spot where Kevin Owens popped up Roman Reigns, and you could hear him telling Jericho, I love how they shout spots at each other in this match because they're letting each other know what's going on. He's like, I'm going to pop him up. Be ready. And they're able to get away with that because they're working together.
They're working together, yeah.
And Reigns catches Jericho with a punch. They were like in full Home Alone 2 mode here, trying to go for stuff, and Roman Reigns just playing their Macaulay Culkin and thwarting them. Then Owens hits a sick powerbomb onto the apron. They end up beating Roman Reigns, and Chris Jericho gets the pin. He is United States champion 19 years after he first challenged one Eddie Guerrero for that title. This is a championship that always eluded Chris Jericho. He has been WCW World Champion, WWF World Champion, Cruiserweight Champion, which an iteration of that is still around, Television Champion, Hardcore Champion, European, Intercontinental. He's a Tag Team Champion. He's held it all. I think this is really the only title that he hasn't held that he qualifies for. Now, maybe there's been one. I don't know. I think maybe he's gotten them all. That's pretty damn impressive, Alex.
Oh, it's incredibly impressive.
Hold on. Before we have people say he was written to win that. Yeah, okay. I get it. It's more of a compliment to his longevity and his value and his worth.
Yeah.
At this point. Sorry to interrupt.
No, absolutely. That's my point, is that Chris Jericho, you forget about how long that guy's been around, even though if he's, taking breaks from time to time. But of all the stuff that he was able to do, it's really, it means something that he's now held them all, that he's now been a champion every way you could be a champion in the time that he's been around. I really love Jericho working together. I've loved them doing stuff. So they were doing stuff, at SummerSlam when they beat Enzo and Cass. Like, they're really, really, really good together. There was a great moment they had in this backstage interview earlier where it was Kevin Owens just yelling stuff at Charlie Caruso, and then he was done. He says, "Chris, now you say things." And that was just that made me laugh so hard when I was watching. I love these guys. The whole calling spots really loudly at each other. That's all fun. They work very well together in the ring. We all thought this was just another way to have Roman go over somebody, two guys at once. And I was glad to see they didn't do that. There was a point earlier where Roman Reigns was in a backstage interview, and he says, "Listen, it is my obligation to defend this title day in and day out." I'm like, what are you talking about? You've defended it like 4 times. If you
got live events, maybe.
Yes, but if you got live events, sure. But on Raw, he doesn't defend the title, and he only defends it against these 2 guys. Those are the only people he defends it against. So I like that. I like that Jericho wins this thing, and I love that Kevin Owens stood by and let his best friend get the pin. There was no dissension. There was no confusion. I like that these 2 guys right now are at the peak of their friendship. It'll be interesting to see when Jericho drops the title belt out of the shark cage, trying to help Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble, and Roman Reigns picks it up and hits him with it or something. That it'll all come crashing down. But for the meantime, I really love the idea that I'm gonna watch a couple of weeks of Raw with both Jericho and Owens carrying a strap around. I think that's going to be kind of fun.
Also, it's more like 20 years since Jericho challenged Eddie Guerrero. And I got a lot of people saying, he didn't win the ECW title. He wrestled like 24 matches. There you guys. And in that time, he did win the World Television title, challenged for the heavyweight title, and challenged for the tag titles, which is saying something in itself. And I think he challenged for all those over the course of like 2 months. Because I know he faced Raven in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Like, he had a real good ECW run, especially considering that he didn't win like the last 10 matches he did. Like, they knew he was on his way out. So, man, we had some history made on this episode of Raw. At the very least, Roman Reigns isn't champion anymore. Chris Jericho is. Hey, I'm cool with that. Jericho has more than earned that spot. And like I said, there are a lot of people that are like, he's written to win it. He's written to win it. I remember when New Day broke the record, Alex, there was a guy. And I'm not taking a shot at Vince Russo, but if you ever go to these people's Facebooks, you'll always see followed by Vince Russo on there. You'll always see one of those. That's the only person I have in common. And it'll be like, I used to be mad about this stuff. Now I just realize I'm okay with it because it's written. They didn't earn anything. And I'm like, yeah, is that why people politic to hold titles?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean anything. They don't make any extra money. They don't get extra merchandise. They're not of more value to the company. They aren't given more promotional spots where they are, again, paid more money.
They sell more merch, which gets them more money, all that stuff. Yeah, no, it's important.
Up on the menu this week for Fightful.com, as I mentioned, Sean Pearson and Elias Theodorou, Showdown Joe bringing you the pain with all the MMA podcasts. Tomorrow night after SmackDown, myself and Jeff Hawkins. Wednesday, I think myself and Fightful.com founder Jimmy Van are going to be doing a show, I think. Send us questions, anything you want to know about Fightful, how it came together, the future of it, wrestling in general. Jimmy Van is an OG of internet wrestling coverage. He had his own site that was his full-time job, like, I want to say 19, 20 years ago. So he knows what he's doing here. He's moved on to other things and has become a gazillionaire, from what I understand. Matt Riddle show on Thursday, Shane Helm show on Friday. Register for early access to those shows. Follow at Fightful Online for all of our stories. Follow at Fightful Wrestle for our live wrestling tweets and coverage. Follow at Fightful MMA. We are still Twitter eggs on both of those for those. Yeah, we're done with Raw already. Chris Rodriguez, for who just brought that up. It was a terrible show. It was a that show was a scrub.
Yeah. There were good moments in there, but not many of them. Yeah.
So what do we got here? What do we have to talk about? We got some time left. We got some time left. Let's see what we got. We'll run through the headlines.
Yeah.
How about that? So, have I spoken to you since the show that JBL and Paul Heyman were on?
We have not formally talked about it. No. Jeff
did. What did you think about that? About how they treated Rosenberg?
It was bad. Listen, the whole thing is that they know how sensitive a lot of their fans are, and they're deliberately poking them with a stick. And that's kind of the most infuriating thing, is that they know people are going to take it the way that they took it, and they're doing it anyway to get a rise out of them. You can't. Everyone's too knowledgeable now. We're all these people they're talking to are all internet savvy. We all read all the things. We all know. We all talk to each other about stuff. And to say basically like, your opinions don't matter. Your feelings don't matter. Shut up and take what we give you.
How dare we know anything about the business?
Right.
Now, by the way, guys, I want to say this. Follow, whether it's to me on Twitter, in the message box, whatever, send in topics that you want me and Shane to talk about on the Friday show. One of those topics will be eventually talking about kayfabe and how it's changed. It's changed, Alex.
Yeah.
A really good reason for that is MMA. It exists.
Mm-hmm.
We know that a single punch can knock people out. We know it's not realistic to watch two people fight for 25 minutes straight.
Yeah.
We suspend that disbelief. But for them to act like, okay, we're in a new age. There's the internet. We know that there are things that do and don't work. Like, and their attitude is, how dare you know about our business? It came off as super carny to me.
Yeah. No, I
didn't like it.
No, I didn't much care for it either. I actually enjoyed JBL's reasoned and articulate explanation for why the third hour exists. He had all the financial numbers and everything, and that was fine. And then Paul Heyman jumps in and says, what do you want it to be, 3 hours, 2 hours? Like, well, I think with the financial, 3 hours or 2 hours, say it. Like, it was just this really,
he was being gimmicky on a show where he didn't need to be gimmicky.
It was just really hustle and weird, and I didn't get
JBL was great in that situation. I thought he was awesome. Nothing against him. I thought Heyman was being really gimmicky. Hey guys, I have a feature up that was inspired by Word's big 80s tweet from a while back about Jeff Jarrett guitars. I wrote about it. TNA has 178 of them left if you all want to buy one for $60. That's a fun read. 6 stars, Alex.
6 stars. 6. He like, I honestly, if you want to do 5 1/4, like, cause that's how much better it is. But to go the full 6, like, that's really, really good. And it was a great match.
See the match. We're talking about Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. I'll preface this, Alex. Favorite match of all time. It's mine.
Excellent.
It is. It just passed Michaels Undertaker.
I mean, it's certainly a great match. Probably top 5 all time. I don't have the connection to it, like the story behind it that I require to be like, okay, I watched this build for this many. Like, that's, to me, is what pushes a match over the edge.
Listen, it's well known that Japanese people don't like fingerless gloves. So, I mean,
right, sure, I totally have a bias.
It's no Melina versus Alicia Fox, but I thought their use of a table, their tease at the table, and then the execution of the table, phenomenal.
There's nothing, like, I don't have any problem with the match. The match, there was nothing wrong. If you want to say it's perfection, then it's perfection, which is by definition 5 stars. But if it's a full star beyond perfection, that might be hyperbole.
What does a 5 1/4 star match look like?
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like now you've given it a 6 star. So now you have the ability to go 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, but it'll never match up to the full 6 star. I want Meltzer.
But you can't do that, can you? If you're this is in reference to Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and we don't usually talk about the grading system or anything. It's all subjective.
Right.
But it's weird because if he goes 5 1/2 stars in the future, people will see that as an insult.
Right. Right.
Isn't it crazy?
It was better than every other match in the history of the world, but it's no Omega Okada. You know, like, it's just very odd. But again, the match is brilliant. Both those guys were brilliant. Now, here's the thing. If you believe John Cena, he's predicting Kenny Omega to show up on WWE programming any day now. And I actually did a full deep dive into John Cena's Instagram to find all the other things that he predicted. And you can find that on Fightful.com. If you Google connecting the dots over on Fightful.com, you'll find out all the other things that John Cena was predicting. But yeah, of course he's trolling everybody. And even though Omega has addressed the rumors and whatnot, his contract is up on the 31st. The Rumble's on the 29th.
There's some varying reports on that.
Oh, good.
There's some saying that he may have renewed, and it's his contract. His original contract did expire January 31st, but there are reports that, or I don't want to say reports. There are some suggesting.
Yeah.
Hogan at the Rumble, a possibility yet? No, I think if he does it, it'll be at WrestleMania.
It'll be Mania if they do it at Mania. Yeah.
Who do we have in the UK tourney? I don't know who the hell's in it.
Well, I'll tell you the people that the whole thing is I don't know enough about all 16 of them. I'll tell you, I like Joseph Connors, and I like Pete Dunne, and I like Mandrews because I've seen those guys wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. Like, to me, if I feel like there's a very big hole in my wrestling knowledge, and that hole is basically indie guys in the UK. So maybe I'll do a little YouTube watching of some of these guys before Saturday and figure out who I think might win these matches. But I also love the idea of going into the weekend not knowing anything and just letting that be the story, you know?
Is Reigns winning the Universal title at the Rumble? Yeah, I think so. And if I were them, I would build a baby face up to face him at Mania.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This whole thing is if he wins it, then you got to figure out the guy who wins the Rumble, if he's on Raw, faces Reigns. So who's that going to be? You know what I mean? Like if it's Braun Strowman, I feel like that's just a big. I mean, there's so much more to do with Braun Strowman before you feed him to Roman Reigns. So I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing what they do with this because the last 4 on the Rumble, I feel like are going to be all 4 guys who could conceivably change the direction of WWE for the next year, depending on who wins the Rumble. That's really interesting to me. But yeah, Reigns is definitely winning that match with Jericho in the shark cage. That's definitely happening.
Guys, Fightful.com. If you're not going there, I don't know what the hell you're doing here, but you need to be there. Get on those boards. Get on our forums. Register for free. If you have a Discuss account, you can chime in on our comment section on each news article. More news, more live coverage than any place else you will go. Go in those live viewing parties. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Lucha Underground, TNA, every WWE Ring of Honor pay-per-view, every UFC show. We got them for you. Come in there. Ask us whatever you want. We got a good community. Alex, anything to let the people know before we go?
You can follow me on Twitter at Pawlowski the Fourth, PAWLOWSKI THE4TH.
Guys, forums. I'm going to open up an Ask Us Anything over there, whether it's about business, wrestling, whatever you want. We're out.